Bingo, bango, and
Bongo.
bongo, conga. I bring a bongo and a conga to every sandlot. Throw it in the on-deck circle. It's the on-deck drum. You know why, Chopper? Why do I bring an on-deck drum to every sandlot?
Energy, fun, excitement, joy, rhythm. I mean, why not? Sums it up.
I've had people, just passing by, walking their dog, and then they just stop, just cold, and look at that drum, and they say, "I've never seen a drum on a baseball field." I said, "Well, you should," and now you have. So there you go.
Love that.
Folks, welcome and thanks for joining episode 82 of the pod. 82 different times we've come together and we've talked about coaching. We've talked about parenting, and it's become my number one passion, other than being a great husband and a great father. But it kind of ties into that. Is how do we create great coaches out there? Educate you, parents and coaches, on making kids want to come back and making them a better person and doing it the right way. How do you feel about episode 82? How we been doing, buddy?
I'm excited. Yeah, it's about empowering youth, right? And kind of inspiring them to be great. And oftentimes the power of our words matters. The I believe in you can go so far, and you can just see some of these kids have never heard that. So yeah, it's powerful stuff, dude. I'm proud of what we're doing, and let's keep rolling. 82.
Man, guys, actively write that down and use it today at your practice, parents and coaches. I believe in you. I threw something on Instagram this past week. Try as an exercise, an artistic exercise, coaches, to only say "attaboy," and that's it for an entire 90-minute practice. If you're coaching a group of gals, only say "atta girl." Just see if you can do that, just as an exercise, and you can let the kids know. But that's another one. Just say "I believe in you." You're only allowed to say that, and see if the culture changes a little bit. See if the vibe changes a little bit. See if that 0-5 record turns into 5-5. Um, I love it. I want to say that this episode powered by Warstick.
Boom.
I am happy, proud, excited to say that we're doing it again this year. Just re-upped with Warstick as my bat, my glove sponsor and partner, and I'll be rocking their swag, and you're going to see some stuff dropping. You're going to see a coach's bag from Warstick dropping. You're going to see a fungo as our good friend Ben Jenkins, founder of Warstick, came on and talked about. It's very coach ball gamey. Feels like a fungo made in Hawaii, Hawaiian shirt style, and it is just art and baseball tied together into one. So excited to have these podcasts powered by Warstick. And they're going to partially sponsor my tour, my National Sandlot Tour.
Love
And
that.
thank you for backing me there and helping pay for some flights and pay for some hotels and get more kids at these sandlots. So big fan, as we've talked about with those guys over in Arlington, Texas. Love you. Super Bowl. We had a Super Bowl. Any takeaways? I hope you watched it. Maybe you didn't. What'd you take away from that Super Bowl, Chiefs Niners, baby?
I watched it. I watched it with some friends of the pod. We went to B. Craw's house. Longo was there. I'm trying to think of who else friends of the pod wise were there.
Name
But
drop salute.
I rocked my Coach Ball Game hoodie, which was great. And that was a conversation starter, which was awesome. Super fun. Yeah, it's like watching the end of a movie. And if you like the Chiefs, it's your favorite movie that you know how it's going to end. And if you are rooting against them or you're a Niner fan, it was like watching a horror movie that you knew how it was going to end, but you still had to watch it. Patty Mahomes is something else. Pretty
Different
special.
cat. He's a
Yeah.
different cat. He is now on the Rushmore. He's with Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and then everybody else. And that's crazy to think as a guy that grew up watching Dan Marino and Joe Montana, and then, the likes of Terry Bradshaw. Uh, he's there now. He's there.
Yeah.
And Steve Young has brought up a great point a couple times. it's a different game where you can't defend as you used to. So it creates space out there for the running quarterback, and Mahomes is not strictly a running quarterback, but if you can get you 80, 100 yards, and if you think back in the biggest moments of the Super Bowl, who had the ball and who ran at 8,
Yep.
10, 17 yards, it was that cat, number 15. He's something else.
They had a 4th and 1 with the game on the
Oh,
line, and I thought it was going to be like okay, QB sneak, and they come out in a shotgun formation, and it was like a run pass option, and he
yeah.
ran for like 15, like easy. Really, really cool. But I mean, yeah, give Andy Reid credit. He knows who he's got, and he just lets him be an athlete. Most coaches there, I think, just go, with the tush push. But
Yep,
you got
he
Patty
knows what he
Mahomes.
has. He's
Yeah.
got he's putting it in that cat's hands. And Andy Reid, I mean, is he the football version of Bruce Bochy? You think he's first ballot, and he's right there with Belichick now. You got to think like one as far as the tree of Andy Reid, what he's created and assistant coaches moving on and building a culture of winning at the highest level. He's the guy, and I am blown away by his the moment that's gotten a lot of uh, viral traction is Kelsey coming up to him, giving him a bump, screaming in his face, big headline there. And they both played it off afterwards. But he has done a lot with a very highly emotional, highly talented Travis Kelsey in the years that they've been together. And I'm sure Travis, if he had the option to do it again, I don't think he'd do that. Wouldn't love the optics of that. But Andy Reid, it's like a father-son relationship almost, and he totally understood where Kelsey was coming from, knew what to do in the moment, and then Kelsey ended up having a very, very good game, and just played it off afterwards as that's just an emotional cat getting after it. So interested in your thoughts there of seeing a player do that to a coach.
It's just having relational equity. So I'm sure there's so much built up there that us looking on the outside are like, well, how could someone do that? That's so disrespectful. But from Andy Reid's perspective, now this is my guy, and he's passionate and he's emotional. And I always tell players, I don't ever want a guy that doesn't want to be on the field. So that's just Travis Kelsey wanting to be in the biggest moment. As a coach, how do you not love that? And yeah, did he bump you? Yeah, sure. It's football. So like, I totally agree with what you said. Travis probably, if he could do it all over again, wouldn't bump him, but he wouldn't change how he was fighting to be in the game. And Andy Reid doesn't want him to change that. He had his reasons for not having him on the field. And yeah, that's just knowing your guys. But give me passionate guys, give me confident guys, and I'll teach them how to walk that fine line as a coach. I don't want the scared, the timid, and the weak, especially not in big games.
Yeah, interesting how Andy was able to build that equity over the years, and just knows how to handle his cats. He definitely has different personalities, and he, as a football coach in the NFL, you might have the most personalities ever. And as we've heard on this pod from Jay Bruce, the man, the savant of people, Dusty Baker, he's built up so much equity in all of his players. Obviously, Andy Reid's done the same. So, dynasty in the making.
Oh
Kansas
yeah.
City Chiefs, well done. Our guest today, who will be coming on in just a few moments, really excited about this guy. I call him the doctor, but on the social medias, he's known as DR Hitting. My main man, Drew. Drew has been a member of our staff on the Not Your Average Baseball Camp that we've been doing the past couple years with Coach Rack, friend of the pod, Coach Bougie, who does Catching Made Simple. Just a group of uh, awesome, energetic coaches in their 20s who happen to be great content creators, and they've just built a huge following. And DR, he's almost got 100,000 followers, and he
Wow.
does hitting content. And I know your son and a lot of the teenage kids on your son's team, they watch this guy and they watch the videos he does. And I think did you say the boys on his team have some questions. Is that right?
Yeah, Michael has a question for him. So that was good. I said, Mike, you know DR Hitting? He's like, yeah, he's awesome. And so I was like, well, if you got a question for him, shoot it out there and we'll ask the doctor, the good
I
doctor.
love it.
We just won't call him that because he doesn't
I
like
know,
that.
I know. I don't think he has embraced that name. I give him
Good
that
name.
name,
Yeah, I
but
like it.
that's DR Hitting. So a ball of energy. I just love when I meet a coach who is as passionate as I am about souls, and he
Yeah,
certainly is. So a big fan of the dude. That's why he's coming on in just a few minutes. I had
excited.
a post on Coach Ballgame Instagram. I've got a digital course coming out. It's dropping March 20th. It's a beginner playbook for all coaches out there. And I don't think you have to be a beginner coach. It's going to hit on so many topics that anybody can chew on and use in their practices and in their seasons. But we're going to do a webinar leading up to that drop. It drops March 20. We'll do a webinar in that first week of March. And I posed the question, if I did a free 30-minute webinar, what topic should it be on? And I got almost 100
Wow.
from fans of the pod and folks that follow us on the social medias. And there were some incredible themes and incredible patterns that I saw. One of them was the mental side of the game. Another one was dealing with parents. How do we do that? And how to engage kids, how to make them fall in love with the game. And it posed a question that I threw on my Twitter. What is something as a coach you've done that caused a child to feel 100% joy? Chopper, I posed that question to you. For me, I see a few moments each day when I see a kid fully in the moment. One of them is after they've crushed a ball. Maybe it's a scrimmage where I see their face after they've hit a ball and they're running to first. There is this moment of 100% pure joy. They're not thinking about what happened at school. They're not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. They're in the moment. They're present. It's beautiful. What's something you've done, Chopper, that created 100% joy?
I think spotlighting at the end of a practice, where
Mm.
we call up a teammate, and then all of his teammates raise their hand and they say something outside of baseball that they appreciate. They're kind, they're friendly, they're honest, they're reliable, and then you just see this young man who's loved by his teammates and his coaching staff, and you don't get a bigger smile than that. In fact, last night we didn't have time to do it, so I said, "Hey, who hasn't been spotlighted yet?" And one of our young awesome little dudes, Benny Callahan, who's wonderful. His dad's name is Chad, like me, so it's a great name.
Bang.
But yeah, but I go, all right, Benny. Well, then, hey, we're gonna spotlight you on Friday, so everybody be thinking about what you love about Benny. And so he's pumped. He can't wait for Friday because he's getting spotlighted. So yeah,
That's a beautiful thing. Something that gives me 100% joy is the man that just came on our Zoom, and I'm excited to talk coaching, talk hitting with him as well. He's handsome, he's youthful, he's got a great smile, and my goodness, I just love seeing your face there, buddy. It's Andrew James Richard, but we call him DR
let's go.
hitting snaps. How you doing, buddy? Can you see us? Can you hear us?
Yep, everything's all good. Thank you guys for having me on.
Let's go.
Everything's dialed in, buddy. You're hailing from Wisconsin, is that right? How
Correct.
we looking there? About 80 degrees, little sunshine.
It's actually surprising. You would expect it to be really, really cold, but we've been having kind of like a little spring. It's been interesting. It's been like 50 degrees. So around here, don't get that too often in February. So a lot of
Let's
teams are practicing
go.
outside and stuff. So good stuff right now.
Beautiful, man. Well, I love calling you the doctor, but yeah, I notice you don't embrace that nickname. Is there a time down the road where you might just okay, I'm gonna let ball game call me the doc?
Hey, you call me whatever. I will. I don't profess it myself, but if someone calls me a doctor, I'm not going to say no. I'll look at
That
more and maybe to the psychology than I just don't want to put across that I'm the the fix it of hitting. So
I get it. The humility is palpable, and I smell it too. I can smell it. I can't just touch it. I can smell it. Meet my partner in crime. That's Chad Chop. Chopper.
What's up, buddy?
Meet the Doc. Meet DR hitting. You guys, two energetic, awesome coaches that, more importantly than the skills of the game, you want to win over a soul. You want to win over a heart. You want to teach the love of play. And what I noticed, DR, watching you for the first time last year at the NYABC was the energy. And I might have coined you Mr. Energy, because for 5 hours straight, you're in that cage seeing 50 different faces, but the energy level, I have been told I have the energy of 20 people. I think you had the energy of 21 people. 21 people energy level, and it stayed for 5 straight hours to the point where you lost your voice. And I mean, that's just a beautiful thing when you can come out and lose that voice. Get a nice hot cup of tea and some lemon that night, and then come back out the next day and do it. But exciting to unpack that energy with you and the Chopper. I'll kick things off, and then I'll throw it to Chop. I know he's got some questions. Chop's got some teenage boys who love following you, DR, and they've got some questions for you. But that energy that you possess, where does it come from? Was that taught? Have you always had that burst of energy within you?
I would say I've always had kind of the emotions on my sleeve type of person. So definitely I've been very energetic for a long time. But when it comes to coaching, I think the biggest thing for me is I match the energy a lot. And that's why I like working with kids, because usually they're coming in there, they want to have fun, they want to have a good time. And sometimes they'll come in and kind of be a little bit shy, but then I'll just try to break that. Just like kind of very much how you do, where you're just like, hey, it's not that type of camp.
Yeah.
And being able to break that wall down and have them be like, oh, like I can be vulnerable, I can have fun, I can, and I think that's such a powerful thing. So that's a big thing. What I try to do is just make sure right away that they understand that this is not just I'm screaming at you, we're just learning baseball. Like, hey, let's have a little fun, let's keep the energy high. And that's usually how I approach it.
Yeah, and I was saying that we would go back and forth on a lot, and connected with in Arlington just a few weeks ago was it's barely baseball. And it's barely baseball. And if you can communicate that with a kid that arrives, is without saying it, knowing you could break this kid's swing down in 10 different levels right away and make them a really, really good hitter. But it's barely that. It's way more connecting with them as a person. So I've just gotten so much. My heart's been so full around that crew of Coach Rack and Coach Bougie and the group that they've built, because it is a lot of young guys, 15 years younger than me, but you all get it. You all get what good coaching is, and when parents see that from a young coach that their kid idolizes on their phone, on TikTok, that's how we change the game. So it's really fun. What have you gathered from that group? What makes you smile about the NYABC crew?
It's something special. I think and we could tell right away, because the first time I went down there, I was like, what are we going to expect? You get people coming from all over the country. I honestly, completely transparent, expected. I was like, where are the egos going to be? Where are the people who are going to be, not as they seem? And it couldn't have been further. I couldn't have been further from wrong. It was because we got down there, met a little bit of touch of everyone. And then when we all got to coaching, it was something else. It was cool. And then being able to kind of break that down the next day and just talk about it and then get to meet these guys. I know Coach Bougie said it a lot, that it felt more like a men's retreat than it did like a camp. It was so cool because you have all these guys who've been in baseball and different, you got players, you have coaches, you have content creators, whatever it may be, but all being very similar in the ways that we look at the game and look how we can change the game. And I think it was really cool. It was an emotional weekend for me, an emotional weekend for a lot of people. And then same thing this last one. Now we got to let our hair down a little bit more and have a lot of fun. But it's really cool to see.
It's a beautiful thing. And yeah, you see the faces, you see the way we change the kids' approach to how they look at the game of baseball, but the dinners that we have afterwards, unpacking it and really getting to know all the other coaches and where they come from and why they coach the way they do. Yeah, it's deep, and it's my favorite part of it because when you get a group of guys breaking bread and just talking coaching and doing it the right way, man, it's a beautiful thing. Chopper, I send it your way. What do you got for the doc?
Yeah, I'm gonna take that line of it's not that kind of camp, and I'm gonna take that with my teams. Yeah, I'm getting ready to coach a little league team, and right from the jump to make sure like, hey, we're gonna be rooted in joy. We're gonna have fun, and that doesn't mean we're not gonna try to get better every day, and we're gonna work hard and we're gonna improve, but we're gonna do that through joy and not stress and fear and anxiety. So I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. Question I have for you, especially in today's day and age. How do you kind of blend feel of hitting versus mechanics? I feel like it gets really mechanical. So what is your way to kind of teach boys to feel, boys and girls?
I'm all feel. I'm not one that is very embedded in, I guess, the understanding of biomechanics. That's not, that's not my style of, I'm not breaking it down like that. For me, how I've always learned is I need to be broken it down like I'm 5. That's just how I learn. And I've always known that's how I learn. And I feel like a lot of people learn that way too. And, sometimes I've seen coaches and I've been coached a certain way where it's like the coach is just trying to sound like a coach, trying to sound like they know it and talk it and all of those things. And they might. But what does it mean if that hitter, that person, that player doesn't retain it and can't utilize it? I don't think it means much. And for me, that's my only goal is when I'm talking to these players is I want them to understand it. So how do I get them to understand it? I use analogies. I use, anything that's going to make sense, anything. And there's nothing off limits. I've said some crazy things through the last few years, but that's the biggest thing that I try to do. And it's not always perfect. You're going to be wrong. You're going to tell something to someone and it's just going to like, oh, hey, dude, like that's not it. Let's forget what I just said. Let's try this. And that's just how I coach is the feel. It's all feel. Obviously, there's things that I want it to look like. And there's certain issues that get brought up. But for me, I look at myself as like a complete feels coach where I'm just trying to get them to, hey, try to do this. Try to feel like you're doing this. Try to, and that's just how I've done it. And I feel at least definitely there's always times where I'm wrong, but for a very strong majority of the younger demographic, that helps a lot for those kids and those hitters to understand.
Yeah, I use with my young guys, if we're working hitting, I tell them, hey, congratulations, you didn't know this, but you're a ninja. And you've got this magical katana, and that's your arch nemesis on the mound. So I need you to work inside the ball, and I need you to cut his head off. So just teach them to stay through it, right? And
love that.
And they get pumped, and it's like, oh yeah, like you did it. And so you just got to get outside of your comfort zone when you're working with youth. Talk about having this hand here, and then get on plane, and then serve that platter to the pitcher. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm a huge feel guy. Like, can we create backspin with a power fade? And if we can do that off a tee, we're doing something right and try to clear their mind. So yeah, we're aligned in that. I love that. Coach Ballgame, what do you got?
Well, I love, of course, I love feel, the feel of something and the visual of something too. For the younger audience, a lot of times, if I've got a kid, obviously he's topping the ball, he's on top of everything, and it's just a chop, a Paul Bunyan chop. I could kind of teach him the exact way of going with that sword this way or creating a fade, but for a lot of kids, they just need to visualize it. So I'll say, hit a pop up to the right fielder, or try and hit a pop up to the other dugout. If they're pulling their front shoulder and just hitting a ground ball to the third base coach's box, hey, let's see if we can get a fly ball to the first baseman, and just have them visualize that, see if they can figure it out on their own. I wrote this quote down: feel versus mechanics. Do simple better, right? If you can get inside the head of an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, they're going to retain things that are very simple. So as a coach, try and coach those simple things better than everybody else.
Definitely.
What's the most requested skill that you've been asked to give as far as hitting goes, DR? I know you do a lot of lessons online or via Zoom. The most requested hitting skill, what do you got?
And that's a loaded question, because it could be, because most times when hitters come to me or parents come to me, it's not even whether they know it or not, it's not mechanics. And a lot of times it comes down to just what's working on right up here. And because mechanics can be perfect, but if there's no intent behind those mechanics, they don't matter. They just don't matter. If I'm in the perfect hitting position, but I have no thought process of like what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to hit this ball hard, I'm trying to do damage with it, whatever that may be for that individual hitter, it doesn't matter. And a lot of times we get so obsessed with the 10% that we're forgetting the 90%. And a lot of my coaching isn't even mechanics. There's definitely basics of it, of course, because those will always help. But I like to say, my big saying is let the big dog eat. And a lot of the hitters that I'm working with have a lot of chihuahua in them and need to bring out that big dog. And because we've all been there when we've been in the plate and we felt anxiety, we felt, oh gosh, what's going to happen? Oh, I hope I don't screw up. I hope I don't do this. And you can see it, you can feel it, you can see it, all of those things with hitters. And being able to find a way to get that out of them, I think can help more than any mechanics. So that's, whether they're searching for it or not, that's what I really like to help with and really try to improve.
I did lessons for 15 years, many times under a strobe light behind a McDonald's, just using what I could. But I thought of it as about 90% therapist, 10% hitting coach, because if you're gonna get that 10% mechanics dialed in a game situation in a high leverage moment, then you've got to do the 90% of therapy. Like, what's their love language, and how are they going to respond when their heartbeat is moving? So, great answer there. Where you're trying to understand the person way before you're understanding a swing. And I've heard a lot of great hitting coaches say this. Every player's different. Same with a golfer. Every swing is different, and we're not trying to create the same exact swing over and over again. You got to find the best in each. Chopper, what do you got on that note?
Yeah, I love the sign at Texas Tech, which has an arrow pointing towards the cage that says "Learn your swing," and then an arrow pointing towards the field that says "Trust your swing." So, DR, you're right, dude. Like that's
Perfect.
That's powerful. It's like, oh yeah, your swing's great, but you don't have a plan. And in game as a coach, don't be afraid to tell a kid to be an athlete. Like, hey, just be an athlete, dude. Like, hey, clear your mind, be an athlete. If he swings at a bad pitch, don't yell at him. Like, hey, I love your mindset. I love your mindset. You stay aggressive, just get yours. But I love that. Like, let it eat. So I'm way on that. I'm going to ask you the question. This is from my 16-year-old, and very, very good athlete, but gets very mechanical sometimes. But he wanted to know, what's a great drill to create more separation? These kids these days are obsessed with hip shoulder separation.
Of course. And it's very important. And the biggest thing that I like to teach is your body is like a rubber band. Your body is like a rubber band. And the thing about the drill is it could help him and it could hurt him. So there is not one perfect drill for everyone. There's different feels for every single person. But I'll just grab my handy dandy bat here.
Love that.
But the biggest thing for separation is I like to, and the cues can change for each person. But for example, is thinking about your hands to your front toe. I like to think that if we can try to stretch those far apart when we're loading, that we're going to create that big rubber band. So like, let's say if he's like, hands are here and he loads to this spot, barely takes a stride. Okay, there's not much stretch to that rubber band. Let's say we take a rubber band and you pull it back this far. You let go of that rubber band. It doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
Same thing with your swing. So if we're not creating much separation at all, if we're at a position like this, when you tell yourself to pull the trigger, there's going to be some flop in that rubber band, and you're going to have to push that through. And that's what can create that slower, handsy type of feel. But if you can get to a spot where you can create that separation, where it feels a little bit of tension in your body, where you create that good tension here from that front toe to the hands. For some people, it's their elbow, their toe. I've had others where it's front shoulder, front toe, trying to create here. Several different cues, but trying to find the way to get yourself into a spot. When you land, all you have to do is pull a trigger. And that's that rubber band position. So lots of different drills to do that, but I like to have people start from like a tall spot. Start from like a tall spot here, and then try to feel themselves create that stretch here. So like I said, it could be your hands and your toe. I've had good luck with people in their front shoulders and front toe, thinking that this front shoulder is pulling, while that front toe is pushing, and trying to create here. And usually I'll go to a pause and have them go to a pause, then fire, just so they can feel like, am I in a good athletic position? But like I said, just like anything, that could help him a ton, or it could create something bad as well. So it really matters on how it feels for him. But I think that's a good feel to kind of like understand like how to create that stretch.
I love that. I was taught, you're young. Do you remember Sean Green?
Yep.
Yeah. And his dad, Ira Green was his dad, and he was our hitting coach in high school. And so he was doing a lot of this. Yeah, it was great. And he was doing a lot of this stuff. We didn't know what it was, but we kind of blindly followed him. But he has a real good, like 1, 2, 3. So stride, hands back. But I love adding what you just said about in that stride, that visual of feeling your hands kind of, we would say, walk away from, almost your stride or your body. But I like the touch of striding with that heel in the air too. So it's that, the without it, the kids having to think about, they're not too heavy on their front foot. But dude, that's awesome. And I'm going to tell Michael that, and I'm sure he's going to love it, because he's a huge fan of you. So even if it's placebo, which it's not, if you said it, he's going to try it, and he's going to work his tail off to it. So I love that. Coach Ballgame, what do you got on that?
I'm in love with whatever works. I think that's a lot of times we have, especially if you find yourself online, which we all do, obviously. And there's a lot of people thinking or putting across that there's one way, or that there's just the right way. Whatever works is right.
Yeah.
Whatever works, whatever helps that individual person, that's what's right. I can't tell someone that's succeeding and doing awesome and feels great and feels confident that no, that's wrong. For me, it's just like, that's whatever helps that individual hitter. Perfect. That's what you got to just roll with.
Yeah. And as a coach, if you can see a flaw in a kid's swing, especially upper level, high school, you can make note of it. But to your point, DR, don't touch it until it goes wrong. Like, you have a plan, have a drill, have that ready. But when that young man's having success, that young man or girl, let them thrive in that. Don't change anything, and just be ready when they need it. Or if they ask you a question of like, hey, do you see X, Y, or Z? Oh yeah, I can help you with that. But yeah, do not, if it ain't broke. Yeah, I love that.
Exactly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And going off of that, like I work with some hitters where I honestly think the best thing that I can do is get out of the way. Yeah. and just allow them to be them. Be the guide. I like to view myself as a guide more than a coach. Like, keep you on the tracks, like making sure that you're doing the things that keep you confident, keep you comfortable. And, if mechanics are one of those things that can help, absolutely. But I work with a girl who's committed to Mississippi State. She's like number 40th in the nation in softball. And I've tried things with her, but sometimes it starts going a different way. And I'm like, hey, like, the last thing that I want to do is get you feeling not you. Yeah. That is the last thing. So it's playing with stuff, but also having that humility of like, hey, not everything I say is perfectly right. There's so many times where I've been like, hey, that whole thing, forget it. Forget it. We got to go back to what helps and what feels good.
And you tell the hitter too, like, hey, I'm going to throw some stuff at you. Try it, and then be honest with your feedback, because if it doesn't work, there's a million different ways we can get this feel that we're trying to accomplish. but you're not going to hurt my feelings as a coach. It's not about me. It's about you and your swing and your journey. So I love that. You're right on, dude, with that. That's a big deal.
The
Yeah,
relationship is oh, sorry, coach.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The best thing that you can do as a coach is formulate that relationship and formulate communication, because just kind of like what we're talking about earlier, if you want to have these people trust your mechanics and trust these things, you have to build trust.
Yeah.
You have to have that relationship and have that communication, and then those things will come easier, because then they're like, okay, they're going to be willing to try it, and not just scared to be like a yes coacher. And I try to get away from the yes coachers and it's great, because they're trying to be obedient and they're trying to be coachable, which is great. But I'm like, hey, how'd that feel? Great, coach. Awesome, coach. And it's like, that's not going to help us. So that's the communication and the relationship. I think it takes that's so much more important than all of the other stuff, because you're not going to get to all the other stuff if you don't take care of that in the first place.
Yeah, beautiful. I think on that theme of trying to get a kid to communicate authentically, you've got to be authentic too. You can't drink this Kool-Aid of self-righteous coach and it's my way or the highway.
Exactly.
You've got to be willing to apologize when you're like, that thing I taught you, wrong. I messed up. I went the wrong way, and that's okay. We're throwing a lot of things on the easel here on the paintboard, and we're going to see what sticks and what doesn't. But that power of apologizing, or that power of being vulnerable as a coach, it's going to open them up to communicate more authentically. I think that's beautiful. For the brand new coach that has been thrown into coach pitch or machine pitch. Is there a starting mechanical point? Is there something that you're not going to sway from this or these 2 or 3 bullet points as you try and make a 6 or 7-year-old hitter a little bit better throughout that season? What do you got?
Man, because that's a great one. That's a great one. A lot of times, what I really try to focus on, at least when it comes to the hitting portion of like when they're seeing the ball, I really want to make sure that we can control our eyes and control our head. I think that is so important, especially at the young age. So big thing that I do is, so when we're off the tees, making sure that their head stays on the tee after they're done swinging. And I do things like, I call it a thumbs up or a thumbs down swing. And just to make sure that they can start understanding what a focus is. And what I mean is, after they're done swinging, if their head is on the tee, they give me a thumbs up. If their head's not on the tee, they give me a thumbs down. Okay, you swing and miss. Is your head on the tee? Some kids will be like, thumbs down, I missed. I'm like, no. Did you keep your head on the tee? Thumbs up. So then they can understand of the process over the result in a very small snippet, because then they'll be like, oh, good, it's good. And which is great, especially at that young age, to understand that part. But regardless, I'll go from that tee, and then let's say we go to front toss. Now, instead of a tee, I take a ball, lay it on the ground. Just like if they're a right-hand hitter, it'd be kind of like in front of home plate towards the left-handed batter's box. And instead, the communication to them is, I don't want you to look where the ball goes. I want you to see where that ball is. So then getting them into a habit of swinging, but then also being able to see that ball on the ground. Same thing applies. Thumbs up swings. After the swing, you just sit there and you gaze at them a little bit like, hey, what do you think? Just to have them understand what they're doing. Instead of being like, no, head down. Actually having them respond and be like, oh, thumbs up. So they know they're doing something wrong or do something right or doing something wrong. I think that's a big bullet point that I really try to get across. That and making sure that they're getting into a good loaded position. But that's all about big dog. Just telling them like, hey, let the big dog eat. Hey, swinging hard. And just getting them to understand that being aggressive is better than being conservative, especially early on. So often, and kind of going what Chop was saying, where if someone swings and misses, don't need to yell at them. I had an honor of coaching our 10U fall ball team, And again, a lot of Chihuahua. I saw a lot of Chihuahua
Mm.
created either through them or parents or coaches of the past for swinging at balls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The thing is you get them in the cage and it's just smack, 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 smack. Get them on the field, and all of a sudden, here. And then as soon as that pitch goes by, look right to dad. So for me, it was all about like, hey guys, one rule today. We are doing everything aggressive.
Yeah.
Everything. Everything we do is aggressive. Everything. We wait, if we make mistakes, whatever. You swing this, yeah, I won't yell. I will not be upset. I want to see you let the big dog eat. And everything we do. And then I think they're a huge staple, because then guess what? They swing and miss at a pitch above their eyes, whatever. Look at me, I'm like, great hack. Awesome job. Way more likely to do that again. So I think if I had 2 bullet points for a coach ball game, I'm kind of going on a little tangent now.
Love it.
But if I had 2 bullet points, it would be like mechanically, the eyes, controlling the eyes. Everything else, let the big dog eat. Be aggressive.
And a lot of times, you're preaching to the parents the kind of the more broad stroke, which is process over results, and make aggressive mistakes. But for the kids, you kind of have to be a little more precise and specific. And what I'll say is, I want to hear you grunt. If there's grunting when you swing, hit it
I
or
love
miss
that.
it, you're getting a baseball card, because that's our goal. If you're grunting when you throw that ball, throw it in the stands or throw it right to the mitt.
I
Either
love
way,
it.
getting that specific note. Chopper, I'm sure you got 50 bullet points that popped into your head there. What do you got?
Just a few. First of all, DR's right on with the most important part of hitting is seeing the baseball. That's, straight up, it's boil that down to you've got to see the ball. But for young players, maybe that have never played, if you can cross it over to other sports, I like saying, like, how do you get in a stance like you're going to guard someone in basketball or football?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they get in this nice athletic position. Like, oh, I love that. Okay, get your hands up a little bit if they're having trouble with that. Like, hey, I want you to pretend like your ear is telling a joke to your wrist, but they're kind of whispering it, and then it gets a little louder. So just try to get him into a decent spot, and then be on time. Like you give me a little bit of a load. So if I can get almost everything, if you can get them on time and they see the ball, they're going to be able to hit. I get kids so often that'll come out and they're just super late. Like if we're doing front flips, they load when the ball's already, and the ball's already on them. And then they try to do this really quick load. And it's like, no, dude, hey, as soon as I'm going at you, start going at me really smooth, really slow, and almost sneak up on the baseball. But it's like you're getting ice cream in the middle of the night. Don't let mom and dad hear you going towards it, but then attack once that ball's there. So it's mindset, it's being athletic, and it's seeing the baseball. But yeah, it's I love that you started with the eyes. That's, if they learn nothing else, that's why I say Helen Keller wasn't a good baseball player, wasn't her swipe.
I'm telling you that I'm stealing that your ear was telling your wrist a joke.
That's great.
That doesn't get any better.
I love that. That is
sneak it
awesome.
there. Your ear is whispering.
That is
I
great.
got a little louder.
So good. So good.
That is great. That is great.
A lot of the questions I get from fans of this pod is, how do I deal with parents the right way? We've already talked about it. We've hit on that theme of the batter. They take that strike and then they immediately look at mom or dad in the bleachers, or they swing and miss and they look for that approval right away. Some specific advice you could give the coach when they have that relationship with a player and a parent. What do you got for that? And DR, I'll start with you and then Chopper.
Definitely. It's something that I want to get better at with that communication there, because it's so important. I think that's where it starts. And and I know you've talked about it before. I remember the story that ball game where you were talking about the walk-off hit, where you had a teammate who, never could, but he was excellent baseball player. And we're talking about your friend at 18 years old. That didn't just happen. That didn't just happen at 16. That's happened from a very, very young age. So a big thing that I like to say is to make sure that we're encouraging, and if we have constructive criticism, it should be based off of effort over performance, because it's the same old saying of control the controllables. Of course, we all heard it, but honestly, if your son or daughter's working their butt off and they were out in the field, they were trying hard, working hard, they went to practice, they worked hard, they were having fun, all of those things, encourage that. Great job, you worked so hard. And because it does more than just, obviously the encouragement is great and they want to hear good things, but if you're only encouraging based on performance, just for example, my roommate in college, his dad very into it, very, very into it, and from Texas, so right in the thick of travel ball and just baseball down there. And he said whenever he had a good tournament, he would be treated like a king. He'd be treated like ice cream, the whole everything. Everything you could imagine, he would get it. His dad was just the best person ever. But the flip side is when he had a horrible tournament, it was like he was barely there. So you start that at 8 years old. You're training this kid. Performance is everything. Performance is everything. And that just leaks into the rest of their life. And then by the time they're 18, good luck fixing that. Good luck trying to fix that. So it starts at that young age with the parents. And if I can get a chat with them, I think a big thing I say is that. And then during the game, as much as you can, try to space yourself. That's a hard conversation to have, but I think spacing yourself is so big. I know a lot of different coaches that aren't even around. They'll try to be, or coaches, excuse me, the parents that'll try to be like out over right field fence, or just like back somewhere else, just so that they can't hear that they're not a part of that. And because the kid is already going through pressure, whether you induced it or not, they're already going through pressure. So that added pressure can add a lot worse. As for coaches, I go back to the aggressiveness argument. And where I have the best bet is talking to them like that. Like, hey, don't yell at them for being aggressive. If we yell at them for being aggressive, they're going to be timid. And we don't want timid hitters and timid players out there. If you can instill early that, like, hey, swing hard, dive for balls, go all out, 100% effort, you're going to get fearless players. Mm-hmm. And players who are willing to just let it all out there. And I think that's my logical way of putting it towards them, where they understand, like, oh, like, it's not just, about that winning that 8U tournament.
Yeah.
It's and it's hard because we're all competitive. I'm the most competitive guy you'll find out there. So I got to battle myself with stuff like that too. But I think if you can look at the bigger picture, who's going to be talking about the 8U championship you won, 10 years from now? None of those kids are going to remember. You're not going to remember. There's way bigger fish to fry on that.
A couple of things. I'll send it to Chopper. On that last note, Jim Henson, Sesame Street, he has a great quote that I live by. Kids don't remember what you teach them. They remember what you are. They take that away. They remember what you are, and a lot of the visuals they have and the body language that you created and your tone. Like, they remember what you are a lot more than the words you actually teach. Secondly, talking about parents and separating themselves from being too close. I mean, my dad was a long way away, but he was incredibly present. There's a difference between, separating yourself, but being non-present. He saw every detail of every moment of every game, and he can still recall it. And we talk about it now that I'm 40 years old. He still remembers, the kind of lead that kid took at Harvard back in 2002. But incredibly present. But and I stole this from Chopper, his joy was detached from my results. And that's a huge one. Chopper, the floor is yours.
Just a few things on it. Having communication early with parents and just making sure, hey, I know when you yell these things, you're doing it out of love.
Absolutely.
but it's not having the desired result. So parents trust us as coaches. And we're going to coach the controllables, your attitude, your effort, and how you treat others. And if you're doing that, the results are going to come. And even if they don't come, you're going to be a good human. And that's at the end of the day, that's our goal. What I would say to parents, and we did this with our boy, I've got 4 DR, and I asked my son the other day, I'm like, what do you want to hear from me and mom? You know, like what gets you in a good space when you're in the box or walking to the plate, and what don't you like hearing? And so every parent should ask their kid. And Coach Baxter, we've had him on, and I think that came from him. But it's like, dude, I don't want to just say stuff to say it. I want to empower you. And he was cool with us saying be athletic. So it's like, all right, bet, like we can just say be athletic, and he knows that means that, hey, we love you and we believe in you and we support you and we're in your corner, whether you strike out or hit a home run. So I would say that to parents. To coaches, control the controllables, making sure you set that environment of like, hey, when I'm loud, it's to praise. And when I have to have a tough conversation, it's one-on-one and it's quiet. So we're not embarrassing kids.
Bang. Man, I love talking coaching, and especially with guys that think like-minded as I do, and I keep hearing a theme with all of these answers. Um, who are you as a kid? You know, how do you tick? How do you respond? What is your love language? Like, before we're going to any kind of mechanics here, we're a people coach. We're really a savant of people. So before you can teach them how to hit that back spinner to the opposite gap, you got to know how they tick, because building up a tool pouch of 50 different tools, that's going to help you. One kid's going to respond to X. One kid is going to get worse with X, and you're going to have to go a different route. I want to close with this question. You talked about getting emotional at the NYABC, and I loved it. You know, grown men just crying about coaching. It's a beautiful thing. Where's that come from, DR? You get emotional, and you have just a real passion for what you do. I'm sure that has something to do with it. But yeah, where does that emotion stem?
That's a loaded question. I would say it stems mostly from kind of experience per se. So I think throughout my whole so I'm from Wisconsin. My graduating class was 50. I never had any real coaching growing up. No real, no any instruction of any kind, other than just like hit, the very, very basics of it. And I never had an outstanding coach, from what I can remember. Just kind of people that were just there and just moving us along, like, hey, go out there and play. And all the way until college, really. And then college, a little bit more caring, but no real instruction, no real one-on-one. I didn't have the best experience with coaches throughout my whole career. So, and I know what that can do. And I know the feelings that I felt as a player, and like the mental anguish that comes with that. I was always a very emotional person, wore it on my sleeve, like I said. So I had no idea how to handle it, had no idea how to control it, had no idea anything. And I didn't really have any help along the way, really, with it. No discipline, because I played well. And and I just felt like there was, in looking back on it as a grown man now, it's like, wow, there was a lot of just issues all the way. And I want to change that, especially in this area. And I just know how it is around here specifically. And that was always my mission, was to try to help it around here. And I just got so lucky that I got to meet a lot of other really cool people around the world who have a very same vision, but at a much larger scale. And that's where, yeah, I got to see it there. And why I was so emotional is because I got to see a lot of people who cared.
Mhm.
Got to see a lot of people who cared. And I haven't seen that. I've
Yeah.
coached a lot of camps. I've coached a lot of places, and it's collecting a check for a lot of people. And you could tell it was a little bit different, a lot bit different getting down there. And that's what struck me to a different level, was just, this is special. I knew it right away. Like the first day, I was like, this is special. This is really, really I think, like, and I know you said it, baseball's in good hands with a lot of these guys, and I really agree with that. And that's why I'm so excited and so emotional with that, is because it's really, it's cool seeing people who really care and want to help. And I think that's the biggest thing that you can do as a coach. I heard it from Chris Colabello. I was talking to him a little bit, and he said the biggest quality you can have as a coach is caring. And I think because a lot of times we're so focused on all the other stuff, but if you care, good things are going to happen. I mean, if you care about that person's performance, you care about them as a person, you're going to be a positive influence in their life if you care and you show it that way. So there's a lot of people who care, and that's my answer.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful, beautiful. Caring. Wrote it down. Highlighted it. Coaches, if you don't hear anything else, hear that one. Care. Go to practice today and fill up your bucket of caring. Buddy, thanks for coming on, spending some time with us. Chopper, anything to close up shop with our man DR?
Awesome. Awesome having you here. Appreciate you sharing your heart right there. I want to piggyback on it just a skosh with coaches, because they hear like all we have to do, if you just care, sometimes caring means being a little bit harder when it's older kids, right? And something I've said on this pod a few times as a high school coach, I've had to tell the boy, and listen, building relational equity, and they know I care about them and I would do anything for them. But then reminding him, hey, there's going to be some moments this year where you don't like me. And in those moments, don't ever forget that I love you. Right. So like, don't ever forget that, because I got to hold you accountable through some of this stuff. And you won't like me if I'm doing my job right. There will be times that me caring about you means you don't like what I'm doing in that moment. Don't lose sight of the fact that I freaking love you and I'd do anything for you.
You have to earn it.
Appreciate you, dude. Appreciate your time. Time is super valuable. And so we really appreciate you taking the time, and it's been an honor to meet you. And I love following you, and you're impacting. I know with my high school group, they love following you. So you spark conversations a lot with your drills.
I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for having me. As soon as Ballgame asked me, it was 100%er. I've always really looked up to Ballgame and how he coaches, and you know, there's a lot of powerful quotes that he has that have really helped me understand it from a different perspective. So, and it's been great meet you, Chop, and I look forward to more conversations like this down the road.
Appreciate you. Have a great day.
Brad Pitt salute to you, and an energy salute to you as well. Two things, and then you can log off and we'll close up shop on the other end. But we got to do a Sandlot in your area there in Wisconsin.
Definitely.
You know, the Midwest is a fun one for me, so I'll be hitting that most likely in September. So let's plan on teaming up there. And then Chopper has showed some interest in joining the NYABC club. So we're gonna bring some gray whiskers to the mix here. Wisdom, baby. See you, brother.
Appreciate you.
Attaboy.
Have a great day.
Well, there you go, buddy. There you go. Takeaways for me. You know, I like to write little things down. Feel versus mechanics.
Yep.
Wrote that down. Do simple better. Wrote that down. Your body is like a rubber band. I think that's a great visual and something that tangible that a kid that's learning how to load his hands and his body that can work with that. Your ear is telling a joke to your wrist.
Love that.
I mean, come on. Your joy should be detached from your kid's results. We talk about that one a lot. And then caring.
Love that one.
Just the most important thing a coach can do is care. I absolutely love that. Stealing it. What do you got?
I mean, you probably experience this as we get older, but we get more emotional, right? So like we're watching a movie or we're seeing the impact that an adult has on a kid or on another adult that lacks confidence. It's super powerful. I mean, I was watching Kitchen Nightmares the other night, and Gordon Ramsay empowered, you know, an owner of a restaurant that lacked confidence. And he told him he believed in him. And like, I see myself tearing up in the living room, because it's like, this is what we can do to each other on this earth, of like, you never know what a kind word or a sincere observation about someone that doesn't believe in themselves. So for us as coaches, like, golly, the ripple effect of what we can have if we're looking for it and we're not wrapped up in our own results or like this is about me or my own pride, dude. Like look for opportunities to empower and love and encourage.
Oh, I can relate to the emotions. My Avery Jean's about to turn 10. I dropped her off at school today. 10 minutes later, just thinking about, her and our 10 years together, listening to a Jonas Brothers song in the car, it straight up ugly cry, like,
Oh yeah.
like ugly tears in a car. Who knows what the people beside me at the stoplight were thinking. But dude, you feel the emotions. And something she says a lot is, I've never seen you cry, Dad. And I want to say, man, well, you're not in the car listening to Little Bird by Jonas Brothers when I'm by myself then, because there's a lot there. So
Yeah.
I think, coaches and parents, we don't have to fight the emotions, we don't have to fight the vulnerability. I think it's powerful. And you can let it out. A lot of times that's the only thing the kids remember is when you break down those walls.
I teared up a couple times with the high school group last year. Yeah. I mean, it just like, it'll make you emotional if you allow it to, when you care as much as we do. And if you don't care as a coach, like, I get it. Some of you probably have to do it because no one else will do it. Try to care more. But for those of us that are just doing it, like DR said, to collect a paycheck, like, do telemarketing or something. Get out of the way and let someone else come in there that really cares and loves these kids and would do anything for them. So I know it's powerful. And I know that you brought on another really powerful dude that's impacting souls. So let's go. Thank you.
Attaboy. Attaboy DR. Attaboy Chopper. Let's do it again next week.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Bang. Bang.
Bang.